Hola, muy buenas tardes. Bienvenidos al Colegio Economistas de Madrid a esta conferencia sobre la economía china en el contexto mundial, situación y perspectivas, que va a impartir el embajador de la República Popular China en España y al que tenemos que agradecer sinceramente su participación, su interés y esta compañía, y yo creo que sus palabras, porque nos van a iluminar mucho respecto a cuál es la situación de la economía china en nuestro contexto y en esta situación económica mundial en la que estamos viendo pues, muchos cambios que tienen consecuencias económicas y que a nosotros, especialmente como economistas, nos interesa. Me van a permitir que en este primer momento haga una pequeña reseña del embajador, Jing, que es embajador en España desde el año 2023, que ha sido funcionario del Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores de la República Popular China durante sus primeros años, ¿no?, de trabajo. Como ven, me entiende porque está sintiendo, o sea que... que además ha estado pues, teniendo puestos de representación en distintos países del mundo. Voy a hacer, bueno, porque tengo un currículum un poco extenso y entonces voy a significar fundamentalmente sus últimas participaciones como consejero de la Dirección General de América Latina y el Caribe desde el año 2010-2011. Después del 13 al 15, ministro consejero de la Embajada China en la República de la India, embajador extraordinario y plenipotenciario de China en la República Islámica de Afganistán, embajador extraordinario y plenipotenciario de China en la República Islámica de Afganistán y, bueno, tiene un extenso currículum, yo creo que muy interesante, que yo les recomiendo que lo vean, y nos preocupa porque, bueno, nos interesa realmente porque es ahora mismo nuestro embajador, el embajador de la República Popular China en España. Yo quiero agradecer también a Jesús Osuna, que está por aquí, que ha sido pues, la persona que nos ha hecho este enlace y esta comunicación con la embajada y con el embajador, que como verán, aunque va a hablar en inglés, pero entiende español, lo sé, además le oí y me va a permitir, a ver si me entiende, me va a permitir que haga una pequeña introducción, porque en una conferencia que le he oído, él hablaba de su homólogo, que le presentó su homólogo embajador español en China, y también decía que nuestro embajador tampoco había aprendido chino y entonces la conferencia la hacía en inglés y él pues ahora mismo nos lo va a hacer en inglés, pero sabrán que me controla, ha dicho que controla bastante y me controla perfectamente todo lo que estoy diciendo. Yo quiero agradecerles realmente su participación. It's a great honor and privilege to extend to you the warmest welcome to the Colegio de Economistas de Madrid, and it's your turn, please. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Just first of all, let me thank again that for the Honorable College of Economists of Madrid for your kind arrangement. And thank you, all of you, for your kind presence and time this afternoon for this briefing by me about China's economy. But also, I also thank Mr. Asuna Sanz, the president of China, for Spanish Association. Thank you for your facilitating and connecting me with this distinguished college. Yeah, as the president kindly mentioned that, sorry, I cannot speak in Spanish. I'm trying to learn, but it takes time. But I can only brief you or present you about China's situation in economy in English. So it will take about 25 minutes. And I brief you. Basically, I will touch on 3 parts. One is China's economy current situation. Second is China's economic relations or our policies with the rest part of the world, European, EU, or United States, other parts of the world. And finally, let me touch a little upon China's economic relations with Spain. That's my job, main job. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. I would just like to say, for China's economy, yes, many people asked me that whether if you are confident with China's economy. This kind of China's economy, in fact, it is quite complicated. If you look at China's economy starting from 1980, why starting 1980? Because China started a kind of we call the opening up and reform starting 1978. Starting from then till now, that you could witness that it is the process of China's gradual open to the world. Before that, we were stuck in domestic Chinese political movements. We were fighting against each other within China. But later on, in 1978, that we think this is not the way for us to move forward. So we connect ourselves with the global market, global community, and global economy. So if you look that starting from 1970s and the 1980s and the 90s, that at that time, China was starting to get adapted and adjusted to the global trade and economic system. At that time, for example, for our foreign service in 1990s, even for the foreign ministry, we had a big slogan in red clouds just ahead of our foreign ministry's gate. That foreign service should serve economy. So we were, at that time, I was very young journalists, young diplomats. Everywhere we go, we advocate your attention for investment, for technology, for production. So at that time, I remember in 1994, I was first in Pakistan. And at that time, even in Islamabad, we learned something. We learned what? We learned exchange stocks, how to run this exchange stock market. We learned from them. So like this, 1990s, starting from 2001, when China joined the WTO, World Trade Organizations, then I think our collaboration with the global economy runs to a new, level. That is, China is more, follow the rules of the international economy, of the global trade institutions, global institutions. There are still a lot of areas for us to improve because our market development is not like yours. You have developed it for the past 100 years, 5 years. Frankly speaking, our market has developed only for 20, 25 years. So it times and that to further improve, for example, intellectual properties protection, patent protection, and all these things. It takes a long time. But I have confidence because our government, our business community's policy is clear that we want to have the internationalized market system in China. Second is that China's economy, starting from 2001 or till even 2015, 16, we had the high speed growth. You could witness that our annual GDP growth is almost around 9 to 10% for successively 30, 20 years. So that the wealth accumulated, the capital accumulated in a large scale, and the infrastructure boosted and all everything. But things, starting a little changes after 2018. 2018 is a very demarcation year for us because although that there were a lot of indications that China, United States were developing some kind of mistrust or loss of the trust between us and the so-called Indo-Pacific strategy and all these forces, then I think it becomes a kind of rivalry sometimes. So that starting from 2018, we had this kind of tariff problem with the United States for the first time. we were quite in a difficult period at that time. So we negotiate. We trying to strike a deal with them. But meanwhile, we were thinking at that time, what if the United States want to de-link, want to disengage Chinese economy, Chinese market? So starting from that time, you can see our percentage of trade with the United States in our overall volume of global trade is in fact is decreasing from around 30% till now around 10%. So when this second round of tariff problem between China and the US happened, I think we are better prepared and better positioned in dealing with. So we adopt a position that we have to stand. We have to insist on principles. We have to maintain our own safeguard, our own interest. Also, we want to protect or safeguard the global justice and international trade institutions. So that was the background of our for almost more than 40 or 50 years economic thing. For now, although that we are faced with the challenges from the United States, this we call the unilateralism. We call this a tariff as a political means. We say that this is unreasonable bullying, something like that. But still, we are confident for China, for the performance since this first quarter of this year, that we still managed a 5% increase or percent growth of our GDP. That our old industry sector or main manufacturing sectors are so far that they are performing soundly, performing regularly. Yeah, we do have some challenges. For example, our foreign trade definitely is under a very turbulent situation. How can we keep this kind of normal trade relations with major economies of the world is a big challenge. So that, for example, we are adopting a series of policies for encouraging foreign trade. For example, we were further easing this kind of non-tariff barriers. In fact, we have announced 38 measures. It's a regulation by our government for easing of the foreign investors, foreign trade, foreign firms in China. Starting from this, I think, March, we are forcing. All of these, actually, the government departments are trying to lower all that, give more access to the foreign companies or foreign investors. Second, we are encouraging our best that our consumption, as I said, we still believe we have a huge potential of domestic potential, domestic consumption, that we have a large number of middle class, we have a lot of areas like housing, like health, like other sectors we need to improvement. So in fact, we are even learning from your system, from your service sector, because your contribute basically is from the service sector. How could Spain attract so many tourists? How could you accommodate so many foreign tourists or something like that? And your healthcare, your whatever systems, we are trying to understand and benefit. And thirdly, that internationally, we still want to safeguard or want to maintain a kind of justified global trade system, because we still believe international cooperation. We still believe this kind of tariff thing won't achieve anything if you really have some concern, for example, about China's electric vehicles, subsidy some things. We can talk. We can find a way out, but do not use it. Unilateral sanctions, unilateral punishment, we negotiate. For example, between China and the EU, we have this EU subsidy things, like your pork, which is largely exported to China. We have some concern for your dumping things, but we never say, okay, we put tariff. No, we negotiate, we discuss, find a solution acceptable for all and good for the international institutions. So right now, I think for China, that first we are dealing with the external challenges like this. Even with the United States, we are trying to engage. We hope the United States can be reasonable and based on their own interest, based on the global interest, this country can have a reasonable position. We are dealing with EU too. We are dealing with Spain. We're dealing with all the ASEAN countries, everyone. Second, we will mobilize our domestic consumption to overcome the problems. Thirdly, we still have confidence because our manufacturing sector is very thorough. It's that all complete chain of production, complete chain of supply all available in China. So that is, so I'm confident for this, but challenges are there. So it takes some time or takes a lot of effort from the global community to deal with this challenge together with the spirit of unity, with the spirit of cooperation. Second is that our current stage with the part I have mentioned with China's relations with the United States. On the 12th of May, we had the first round of negotiation between China and the US in Geneva. Switzerland. It's not Geneva, I think. Yeah, we had some kind of, we call the preliminary result. That is, both sides will lower our tariff level to right now is around 34 to 40%. But this is not also sustainable for between us. So we are going to have another 3 months so-called period for the realization. We'll keep engagement. But if the United States want to just put unilateral measures on China, I don't think China would succumb, would follow their practice. We have our own interest. And we believe our interests are legitimate. And I think it is also well practiced in the global and world histories. We don't, of course, we hope the United States be reasonable, but judging from now, I think at least, I can't say they are not reasonable, but I had to say they are unpredictable at least. Every day they have new policy. Today they have this, second they retreat, and suddenly they resume again. So we are trying to get used to deal with this kind of style of state-to-state relations. But still, we hope that the United States could be a reasonable leader of the global community because they are strong superpower, economically, militarily, anyway. During China and the US, this kind of problem between China and the US, how does China see the Europe, EU? I should say that right now, EU is still very top in the agenda in China's foreign relations. I only say that in the economic sector, but also in the global security strategy sector, EU, we say multipolar world. So EU is the polar of the world for us. United States of superpower is a big polar. EU, we still believe is a polar because you can play a huge role, big role in global security, in global international relations or something. But economically also. Second, we think EU is also because we believe in culture, we believe in civilization. You are among the leading culture in it because you set the standards for the post-industrial period. Industrialization started from Europe. You set all these modern standards of that. Thirdly, this EU is the major market for the global community. I think apart from the United States, you are the second largest, or we call it advanced market in the world. No country, including China, could ignore your role, your functioning in the global economic, cultural, or strategic operations. So that is our understanding. So that is why we pay a lot of attention. For EU, first, we believe EU is a very, very good example for a diplomacy, for international relationship based on community. This is a very, for example, in ASEAN countries, in Asia Pacific, we try to learn. So we try to build the East Asia Summit. We try to build ASEAN +1+3, a kind of common APEC is a part of our practice. So far, no such a kind of community building practice is as successful as EU. So community-based. So you work based on rules. You work based on regulations, consensus, consultations. One word, multilateralism. So we hope that EU, as the representative of the multilateralism, can keep this word, can keep this flag, this value for the global situations. Second is that, although I just mentioned that there are much over-regularization, too much regular, but regularization is important because to regularize something means you are thinking about it. You are trying to stop the damage, stop the hurt. Although that maybe some areas you are over-regulated or something, but still this rule-based management we have to learn. Everyone should learn. So we still hope that EU can play a leading role in advocacy of these rule-based international institutions, in particular in the economic sector. Thirdly, that EU is still is the representative of an open value. For Chinese, for me, in Spain, I have no limitation. Everywhere I can go. And everywhere, even in this distinguished college, you open the door for me. So this is a kind of openness. This kind of inclusiveness is very important. If the United States could, but I think the United States is no more open now, at least for Chinese, but they say, but still. So we hope during this kind of global diversification approaches, EU could stick this open, this multilateralism, and also this kind of rule-based performance. This is what China is expecting from the EU. This is also the sum of the rules of China dealing with the EU. Of course, we can benefit from your practice. So that is right now. So from right now that there are different approaches by the US unilateralism, maybe by that EU multilateralism, we are with the multilateralism. We are with the EU. So, finally, let me say a few words about China and Spanish, because Spain is a major member of the EU, a leading economy. In particular, last year, you achieved 3%, more than 3% growth of GDP. And I think it's the leading one among the major economies in the world. It's not easy. It's not a small thing, because if EU can resume the economic growth like your performance, it could be a good sign for the global economy. For me, as I was said, that I was not very familiar with Spain. I could not speak Spanish. Once again, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I'm learning. But I found that, as I said, that this kind of open, this kind of inclusion, this kind of friendly. In fact, I was saying that in your mind, you don't have a very strong concept. Oh, this is an enemy. China is a bad one. Is a pandemic creator, something like that. Maybe not. But I think at least you are looking at all the international members of the community in an equal, in a very inclusive way, in a friendly way. So this is my impression. Second is that I think between China and first of all, I came that we have something similar in our national agenda. For example, we want to have our manufacturing. We also want to have foreign investment. Wherever I go, I found that the central government and the local governments in Spain, you have the similar approaches. Please come to invest. Please come to establish a factory. Come to buy our products, something like that. So in fact, it is the entrepreneurship, this kind of spirit existing. So that is why that the economic or the business community here is very strong. Maybe because of the economist, because you are leading this kind of concept. You are leading these kind of approaches. But anyway, I think this is a pro-business society, pro-business community. This is very important because in China, we have been devoted in economy for 4 decades. So when we are talking about economy, it's a natural attention for us. We pay attention. Okay, this is a good economy, then we come to here. This is a good economic community, okay, we come to here. This is natural. So that is. Thirdly, is that the industry pattern here. I came here, I studied, I learned that you are having a kind of strategy or so-called reindustrialization. I think this is exactly what China was doing, I think, 10, 20 years ago. We do have, China is good in some sectors, but not all sectors, as I said. At least 2 areas, which we think is good for Spain. One is what we call the new energy, renewable energy. So that for the past 2 or 3 years, our companies for renewable energies are coming in a bigger way. Second, we said is the electric vehicle, because we still believe this is a means of dealing with the global challenge of climate change or something. So definitely we are working on. So usually that my understanding is that take Madrid as a line to the north of Madrid. In other parts, because of your manufacturing, we encourage our electric vehicle or automobile sector to go to these provinces or autonomous regions, common to that. To the southern part of Madrid, you have more very good sunshine, seawater, land, these things, like Andalusia, Valencia. We are encouraging this right now. Is hydrogen-based new energy companies investment. But of course, this is just a rough picture of that. And of course, we attract your attention to Chinese market so that figure the trade deficit between the two. We don't want to see it. But like our president personally told your president, Pedro Sanchez, so that he said, sir, this is a kind of problem because of the structure of our 2 economies. Because that we are producing a lot of low value added or less value added products. Sometimes you have to buy that because the volume is big. So, but we will open our market to Spain, whatever you have, that we would like to encourage our consumers, our companies. So we are going to expand. We will give more market access to Spanish products, mainly these value-added products. Yeah, we buy a lot, pork, we buy a lot. We keep buying, but we want to explore more potential commodities with more value in it. So that is why we are going to send some purchasing delegation that to connect themselves, the Chinese buyers, with the local manufacturers in agricultural sector or in machinery or manufacturing sector. So right now the momentum is good because the 2 governments, the 2 societies, the 2 business communities are connected and both sides are encouraged. This is one of my main jobs that I'm trying to. But our bilateral trade relations, our bilateral investment cooperation could be also affected by the global situation, disturbances. For example, the supply of rare earth products or something, this rare earth something, it is faced by your automobile sector. So we are working very hard. But I can say this kind of problems, China could not be blamed because we didn't initiate this kind of global trade war or something. We didn't initiate that. But we will definitely work our best to help these supply solutions. Because if China can supply, we have to supply. Can China be responsible? We have to be responsible. So this is so right now there are some automobile factories in Spain, in Europe. They are faced with definitely the Chinese government will facilitate these kind of things. But if you look at this problem, that it's not China that is creating problems. For our policy, that we would like to see Spain as a major economic partner, development partner. So we appreciate that Spanish position. For example, you are going to host a very important UN conference on the development financing in Seville at the end of June. I think that in this world, when everyone is talking about war, conflicts, talking about tariff measures, Spain, you are standing up, talking about development for the global south, financing this development for the global south. I think this is rare, this is brave, this is important still. So definitely that we are with you in mobilizing the global sources for the development. We are with you in highlighting this international system centered with UN. There are a lot where we are the same way. So, Madam, if you allow, I won't take too much time, because if you have any kind of questions, I would love to field them. But here, if you allow, let me stop here. Thank you.